Get the most D&D in your life and plug your earbuds in to hang out with your new group of best friends, Dungeons & Dragons, a D&D 5th edition actual play podcast. 4 friends get together weekly to weave a mysterious, wonderful, and hilarious ongoing tale of adventurers trying to miraculously save the world from the dastardly cult of the dragon, but messing it up at nearly every turn. With over 75 episodes available, you can start at the top or listen to the recaps to get you caught up on the latest adventures. Listen to Dungeons & Dragons every Wednesday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, or at dumbdragons.com.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Dungeoncast. I'm Will.
I'm Brian.
This is a podcast where we talk about everything Dungeons & Dragons, from mindless monsters to malleable metals. And today we're talking about Moradin. The Dungeoncast. All right, Brian. The community has voted.
Yeah, oddly in Moradin's favor, apparently.
Indeed. Well, but just barely, because it was neck and neck between Moradin and Mystra.
But I didn't expect either of those.
I kind of expected Mystra because she's really mysterious and cool, and there's a lot of cool lore to her, and she's really prominent in like Elminster's stories. But Moradin won, surprising everyone. So
everybody who voted for, I guess you could vote for multiples.
You could. I made sure that you could vote. I wanted to know all the gods that people wanted. So.
Yeah. So everybody that voted for everyone that I saw in the Discord, like openly admit that they did that.
I didn't see that.
That's like not voting.
Well, I mean,
it's exactly the same as not voting.
I still appreciate it because it means that like there's no god left out. So I know that eventually we're going to cover them all.
But that's why they're on the
I know.
list.
Okay, fair enough. Either way, Moradin won. So thank you all to everyone who voted.
Yeah.
And let's talk about Moradin. He's a lawful good god of protection, creation, earth, and law. He is the chief deity of the dwarves and all of dwarven kind. He's also known as the Soul Forger, the Dwarf Father, the All-Father, and the Creator.
Nice.
You know, there's a lot of All-Fathers. I swear,
yeah,
every other god is like, I'm the All-Father. Like,
weren't we talking about that gray rock from Eberron or whatever?
What?
What's that create? It was the Allspark.
The Allspark.
Was it Eberron? We just talked about it a couple episodes ago. It was like chaos in a bottle or whatever.
That's Dragonlance. Yeah, chaos. He bottled his dad in the Greystone.
Like, I'm your dad now.
I'm your dad now. Yeah, that's kind of how that went. He goes by the All-Father. Io sometimes goes by the All-Father. Anam, the god of giancy, also goes by the All-Father. So I don't know. Whatever. Anyways.
Maybe it's just the same god, like in different costumes over and over again.
I mean, it's super not, but
okay.
I mean, sure. So he's a greater deity recognized. He is a greater deity recognized outside of the dwarves, but he is very much a dwarven god.
Okay.
But those who aren't dwarves that tend to worship Moradin are blacksmiths, miners, jewelers, engineers, machinists, and warriors. Because Moradin is kind of all those things. And
okay.
He really likes all those things. So. But yeah, still first and foremost, he is a dwarven god, and dwarves are his primary concern, which is fitting because he made them.
Okay,
so,
sure.
So Moradin is usually depicted as a stern-faced male dwarf standing about 20 feet tall or so.
Oh God, what? Doesn't make any sense.
He's a really big dwarf.
Is he proportioned? He's
proportionally a dwarf. He's just 20 feet tall.
So if you like just scale up a dwarf,
exactly.
You know, like he's not
the entire
lanky.
The entire dwarven pantheon is actually like that. So it's like the more powerful you are, the taller you are. Moradin's the tallest of the dwarven gods.
Okay.
So
is his con like a 40?
Yeah, we're going to talk about his stats. Okay. See, I think this might be the first like greater deity we've talked about on this show, because we talked about Asmo, who can be a greater deity depending on your edition, but for the most part, he's just like the most powerful devil / maybe a minor god. Tiamat was a minor deity. Bahamut's a minor deity. The Raven Queen's kind of in a gray zone. Lolth is an intermediate deity. Moradin is a greater deity. His power is far superior to any of those. He could probably take all 4 of those like head to head at once. But we'll get into that.
And that none of them will be able to poison him.
No, not at all. So anyways, his back to the way Moradin looks. His upper body is especially robust. He's got like wide shoulders and a barrel-shaped chest. He's got like really buff, well-muscled arms.
Okay, cool.
Some sources say that his hair and his illustrious beard shine white. Others depict him as having like dark black hair. So it just depends on which book you're reading.
All right. What kind of encounter you have with him? Because if he comes out of the sun, it's going to manipulate the colors.
He's usually dressed in like really... not modest, but really like basic wear, like blacksmith's garb.
Oh, okay, cool.
Except for when he goes in the battle, in which he's like dressed in full plate armor. He's got a giant shield and a war hammer.
Yes.
His holy symbol is a hammer and anvil, although sometimes it's depicted as an anvil with like a silver flame on top.
Nice. Okay, cool.
So yeah, he's all about blacksmithing, and he's all about being a dwarf. He's just the most dwarfy dude there is. So according to Dwarven myth, Morden was incarnated from rock, stone, and metal, and his soul is an ember of fire. It isn't really stated where he actually comes from, so it's really up to interpretation. Much like Corellon, it's hand wave as he always was, which is something you're going to see with a lot of these older gods. It just none of this stuff was really explained. Like,
yeah, I mean that's kind of how, if you're talking about a greater deity, that's the thing. It's like the origin needs to be mysterious, I guess, in a lot of ways, or else you have to have the thing. There's something above them that you have to quantify.
And depending on your setting, it is explained. Like Forgotten Realms has a creation myth, which we'll get into more if we do a Mistra episode or a Saloon episode or a Shar episode, because they're really tied to the creation mythos behind Forgotten Realms. Like we'll get that story.
Yeah.
But when it comes to Moradin, it's just he kind of always was, and no one really knows.
Yeah. Not even like he crawled out of the soup of creation. He was.
It just really doesn't get into any of it. It just doesn't say, so it's really up to interpretation. So, like I said, you'll get this a lot with the original D&D gods. Morden, his first write-up was actually in 1980 for the Greyhawk setting, but he was also just adopted into Forgotten Realms and Planescape, which was very common for that day and age. Like it all just kind of became one thing.
Okay.
So regardless of Morden's origins, the origin of his children, the dwarves, is somewhat explained in like a mythological sense. So it's said that the dwarves were forged, their bodies were forged from metals and gems, and they were forged in the fires of the heart of the world. So I guess the world's core, I don't know. After he made the dwarves' bodies, he then breathed life from his own essence into their cooling forms, and these were the first dwarven souls.
Okay.
His breath was the first dwarven souls, and he breathed them into these weird metal bodies, and now they're dwarves.
they're just little people balloons.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Fori gives Moradin an even greater role as one of the original Dawn War deities, where he crafted all the mountains of the world from the primordial earth.
Okay. The Dawn War is just to remind
so in
everybody.
Fori, think about Fori's again very reminiscent to like a Greek pantheon, where it's like all the goods, good and evil, were part of the creation of the world,
right? Which
is very much how Dragonlance kind of is too. And then like the Titans in this case would be like the primordials,
right?
So, yeah, that's Fori for you. So personality-wise, Morden is seen as a stern and stoic father figure. He's known to be a harsh but fair judge. He's strong in body, mind, and just sheer force of will. Some say he's like strength incarnate. His will is to inspire the dwarves to invent and improve. He encourages dwarven good nature, craftsmanship, and harmonious existence with other good races. He tries to dissuade the dwarves of their prideful and isolationist tendencies.
Okay, so I mean that's cool.
Very much. So in the Bahamut episode, we talked about how like Bahamut had all these draconic traits, like he's a real dragon, except for he doesn't have any of those bad traits. Like he's not greedy.
Okay.
He's not overly prideful.
Yeah.
Moradin's the same way. He's like the dwarfiest dwarf there ever was, but without any of the bad traits.
It's like when you make copies of music files too many times, like or a key. Like if you take an original and make a copy of it,
right?
There's some imperfections with it,
right?
And then if you make a copy of that copy, the degeneration of copying over and over again,
and that's how you get dwarves.
Then that's if dwarves tried to make other smaller people in their representation forms, that's how you get gnomes. Just kidding.
There you go. So Moradin teaches values of law and good. He's all about crafting goods of lasting quality, loyalty to the clan, to the leader, to one's people and family. Of meeting adversity with like stoicism, but at the same time with a tenacity and not giving up. He tolerates no evil amongst his people, which is why he cast out the Duergar.
Right.
Wisdom. He one of his I don't want to say tenets, but one of his teachings is wisdom is derived from living and tempered by experience. So he's kind of a philosopher in a way.
I remember being upset with Morden for casting out the Duergar because I'm like,
because he was kind of a dick about it.
Yeah, that's pretty black and white, man. Like,
and well, I mean, as a lawful good deity, he is very black and white. And
well, I guess that's my issue.
Problematic.
He didn't try to help them. He was just like, no evil.
You fucked up.
Out.
Yeah, exactly. So with that being said, I think it can be said that Morden really does lead by example. Like I said, he has all the traits
I never hang out with mind flayers.
Right. He has all the good traits of dwarves without the bad, and he tries to encourage these traits and cultivate them amongst his people. So he does lead by example. He's a really good leader. It's just, everyone makes mistakes.
You should have been more like your father.
More like
your all-father.
That is so true. So as one would expect, Moradin is held in the highest of regards amongst all Dwarven kind. His teachings and clergy permeate throughout Dwarven culture, from their craftwork to their marriages and even their calls to war.
Okay.
Like they invoke Moradin's will and they call out to his name.
So wait, the Duergar, do they still...
No, Duergar are cast out, and the Duergar gods were cast out of the pantheon as well.
So they're no longer considered Dwarven kind, I guess, then?
They are like part of Dwarven kind, but like...
So I guess we need to...
They've been cast out.
Errata that sentence where he's the one of all...
He's held in the highest regards amongst all Dwarven kind
that are not cast out.
Because even
so
the one
asterisk there is what I'm saying.
Well, what I'm saying is like even the Duergar are like, that dude is legit. Like,
well, yeah. I mean, you could say that dude is. They're not worshiping him though,
but
right?
no, they're not worshiping him, and they do hate him.
I guess they. Yeah. So they just still hold him in esteem.
Yeah, because it's hard not to.
It's hard. You can't deny
and
that
he is
guy.
their creator. So
it's like Michael Jordan.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Michael Jordan.
It's hard to deny Michael Jordan.
I know, right? So even dwarves that don't outright worship Moradin will appease him with like occasional ritual, just because like it's just too disrespectful not to. Most dwarven clerics that there are clerics of Moradin.
Yeah, cool.
I think that goes without saying.
If you're a cleric of Morden, are you like life clericing it or forge cleric?
I'm trying to remember the domains.
It's definitely forge cleric.
I think life was one of the domains. Definitely forge. There was another one. War. I think is another one as well. And I'm sure you can make an argument for a few others, but I think life and war were listed. Forge wasn't, but forge is kind of like an off the beaten trail one. It's not in the player's handbook.
Right.
Yeah. But that being said, let's take a short rest.
Okay.
All right.
Hey everybody, welcome to the part of the episode. We're not talking about the last thing. We're talking about this new thing. This new thing is love. I love you. You have to.
God, I love you too.
You're
okay,
contractually
I swear
obligated to tell
God.
the listener that you love them.
It's true. I care. I love you guys. I love you guys.
Let's love more people. Some specific people.
Some very specific people.
Some people that became patrons on Patreon. Patreon.com/Dungeoncast, where you can find bonus content, get mugs with cool catchphrases on them, etc. Or if you want to become an NPC in our Super Quest Saga game. Anyway, let's say a special thank you to Sam Venditelli.
Thank you, Sam.
And thank you, Archduke Solus.
Thank you, Archduke Solus.
Thank you, Frank Vavrek.
Thank you, Frank.
Thank you, Corey Stark.
Thank you, Corey. Cool last name, Corey.
Thank you, Johnny Justiano.
Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you, Jacob Hammonds.
Thank you, Jacob.
And thanks again, Alex Martinez.
Thanks, Alex.
Thanks, Matthew Bullock Fishner.
Thank you, Matthew.
And thank you, Ed Emerine.
Thank you, Ed.
We love you guys very much. Thank you for becoming patrons, and I hope you're enjoying all the bonus content you're entitled to, given your tier. So, is there anything else we want to talk about on this short rest? This short.
I don't have anything to talk about.
Okay.
Back to the episode.
Let's get back to the show.
All right. All right, Brian, we're back.
We've returned.
Indeed we have, and we're still talking about Moradin, so...
We've returned.
So Moradin has quite a few allies amongst the cosmos, which isn't too surprising. You know, he's both powerful and dope. First and foremost, he is allied with the rest of the Dwarven pantheon.
Okay.
It'd be kind of weird if he wasn't.
Like the team, the company soccer team is like Morden team captain or coach, and then...
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Dwarven pantheon is otherwise known as the Morden Salmon, and this includes Morden's wife, Baranor Truesilver, the dwarven goddess of hearth and home, and the revered mother of all dwarves.
That's so weird. You all work for me.
Yeah.
This is my pantheon.
Indeed.
Crazy.
Yeah. So the Morden Salmon are a rather large squad of dwarven gods, 13 in total, who will probably get their own episode. Not each. They're not each going to get their own episode.
Yeah.
We'll probably do a Morden Salmon episode, and we'll just kind of go through all the major gods.
It's just his posse.
It's just his posse, and they roll deep.
Yeah, if they go clubbing, they're all there.
They're all there.
much. I mean,
yeah, all the time. They're never not together.
probably they don't get sick. It's not like they can call off.
It's so true.
And if they're at war, they're all going to be at war.
That's also true. Yeah. Beyond his dwarven allies, Moradin has other friendships and alliances depending on edition and setting. His more notable ones are with Gond, Lord of Smiths, Torm, Helm, and Tyr, who were all 3 different good gods of protection, loyalty, duty, etc.
Sure.
Like really good dudes. They're all somewhat related and will come up in each other's episodes. So.
I'm friends with the armor guy and the guys that are the representations of the ideals that the armor represents.
Exactly. Yeah. Very much so.
Cool.
Also,
good writing.
Yeah. Also, despite the often strained relationship between dwarves and elves, and dwarves and gnomes as well, Moradin has a very strong and old alliance with both Corellon and Garl Glittergold. He actually gets along with Corellon fairly well, all things considered. Like, he thinks Corellon is a bit frivolous, but like, I don't know, they roll deep.
Well, those any kind of negative energy is amplified as you move down the chain, like like when you're making copies. Remember my copy analogy? Yeah. So the dwarves and the elves like find those things. Like dwarves really think that the elves are frivolous. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
They're like a Tolkien-esque rivalry there, right?
Yeah, I mean that's what it's based off of. Yeah. So yes,
that's cool.
But yeah, no, Corellon and Morden, they're bros. So yeah, Morden
they're beer pong partners.
What was that?
They're beer pong partners.
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. So Moradin considers all evil his enemy.
Nice.
And the enemy of his people.
Okay.
But above all others, he counts Maglubiet and Grumpsh his biggest enemies. That's probably right there is probably why Corellon and Morden get along so well, is they both fucking hate Grumpsh.
Yeah, okay.
They just fucking hate that dude.
We mentioned Grumpsh. Can you go over Grumpsh?
Oh yeah, he's the chief deity of orcs. Corellon took out his left eye. He was a fucking bitch. And Morden was probably like, yeah. so yeah.
What's something cool we can say about Grumpsh?
I mean, he is a badass. No mistake there. Like he fucks shit up, but he's always at war with Maglubiet on the plane of Acheron. Okay. Orcs versus goblins there. So yeah. He's the Horde master. He's all about basically the Horde kind of consuming the world kind of thing. He's a god of destruction and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Grumpsh, what's for breakfast? It's the world.
Indeed. Okay. Grumpsh will get his own episode for sure.
Yeah, that was my next question. Then I was like, should I even ask it?
I mean, yeah.
Like pretty much anything major we haven't have an episode on yet is gonna get one.
Right. So Maglubiet and Grumpsh are again his biggest enemies. Mm-hmm. He's gone so far as ordering entire orcish exterminations on the Prime.
Okay.
So basically, the enemies of dwarves are the enemies of Moradin. Next on his shit list are the Duergar gods, whom he banished from the Morden Salmon for misleading the Duergar. Lastly, the gods of the giants, Anam and his pantheon, are sworn enemies of Moradin because giants and dwarves fucking hate each other.
Yes.
So again,
yes, they do.
All traditional dwarven enemies: goblins, orcs, giants, and Duergar. All Morden's enemies. He hates them. He hates their dads.
It's like Grumpsh and like a giant god. Playing beer pong against Corellon and Morden.
Oh yeah,
it's like
I would watch that show. I would watch the shit out of that show.
It's like Jersey Shore style.
Yeah,
it's exactly. Bad reality.
You just
TV.
get all the gods and they're all
the
living
celestial
in the same
plane
house.
is just bad reality TV. Like the upper planes are all just in that style.
Yeah, I love it. That's fucking.
That's
amazing.
how I picture Greek mythology. It's just like it's bad reality TV. It's like time to go down to the club, and that's the material plane.
I can see that for sure. Okay, so Morden dwells in the astral dominion of Arakanor, also known as Dwarf's Home. It lies on the sloping mountains of Salonia. We talked about this in the Celestia episode. It's the 4th layer of Celestia. Arakanor is a deep and vast network of tunnels known as a Dwarven Mansion, and it was dug and crafted by Morden and the Morden Salmon.
That's hilarious.
What do you mean? What?
That it's called a Dwarven Mansion.
Well, I mean, because it is. It's all one underground motherfucking mansion.
Yeah, and they just like hug the walls and they're like, I love rock.
Basically.
I love mountain.
The inside of Arakanor is actually a mystery to all but dwarves, who are the only beings who are allowed within. Those that do enter and return speak of stonework and craftsmanship that surpasses even the finest masterwork on the material plane.
Nice.
Arakanor's halls are manned by a standing dwarven army and even have a multitude of dwarven villages within. So it's almost like its own country. I don't know. You got to understand, like Arakanor, it's like all these god domains are technically infinite in their own right.
Okay.
So it's like it's a dwarven mansion, but it's infinite. And there's dwarven cities inside of it.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyways.
Yeah. I mean, like, is there a point in even trying to talk about that? Because like, we don't know.
Yeah, basically.
Like, just enough is to say it is infinite, and then we move on.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
So Morden rules Arakanor much like a king rules a kingdom. Arachnor also houses Moradin's soul forges, which he uses to temper the souls of the dwarves.
Oh, nice.
So yeah.
Yeah, because they're like made of gem dust or whatever.
So what I gather from this is in much the same way that elves are kind of like reincarnated souls over and over again, it seems the same thing's kind of happening with dwarves.
Yeah.
Because when their souls come back, he retempers them, and I imagine they go back to a body. I didn't read that anywhere, but that just seemed to be what was alluded to.
Maybe it's kind of like the procession of like the Earth's crust, where it like goes back into the mantle and is like reformed and then shot out of a volcano, and now we have like really cool land to plant trees.
That's a really good analogy, man.
It's a circle of life,
like that
but
one.
it's super hardcore.
Yeah, absolutely. And the dwarves, and I just like the Earth analog.
You heard it here on the Dungeoncast, everybody. Take it to your world and build.
So temples to Moradin are always found underground and are more resemblant of vast smithies dominated by one or more grand halls of handwork, hardworking craftsmen just at work. Whether it's they're smithing or they're sculpting or they're creating like amazing jewelry. It's just this huge motherfucking workshop with a shrine, and at the temple center are going to be like enormous hearth fires with just forges set up with like the finest equipment.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that's what dwarven religion is like.
I like in some depictions of like pop culture dwarves, you get like skylights that are like so fucking far up into like if they're in a mountain, they have to dig so far, but there is some light coming in.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Super good looking.
Okay, so really quick, so we're gonna get into like the stats of Moradin. I mean, not really, but kinda. Before we do that, you got any questions about Moradin? Like any inquiries, comments,
what's his beer pong record?
concerns? Undefeated.
Yeah. Okay. Good answer.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So being a greater deity, Morden cannot exist on the Prime except like as an avatar under very special circumstances. When and if he does this, it's fucking terrifying and you should leave immediately.
What? Okay.
It's he's a goddamn force of nature. So
like does that imply like he'll just fuck up a bunch of dwarves? Well, he'll be there for a reason.
How do I put this? So like, okay. Superman.
Yes.
There's an episode.
Following you.
Yeah, there's an episode in Justice League where Superman and Darkseid kind of throw down, and it's on like Earth.
Yes.
And Superman's kind of getting the shit beat out of him by Darkseid.
That's how it typically starts.
Yes, usually how these fights start. And then Superman, of course, comes back and knocks the crap out of him.
Yeah, because he gets punched into the sun or whatever.
No. What I really liked about this scene is like Superman comes back and starts hitting him real hard, and Darkseid's like, "What the fuck happened? Like, I was just beating the hell out of you. How are you so strong?" And Superman kind of has a speech where he's like, "I live in a world made of glass, and I'm constantly having to be careful about everything I do. But I forget that I don't have to do that with you, Darkseid.
Oh.
I can really just cut loose and do what I can do." And then he proceeds to beat the shit out of Darkseid. So when these greater deities touch ground in the Prime, it's kind of like that. The world is made of glass, and anything they do, like any movement they make, they're going to accidentally fuck shit up. It's inevitable. They're too powerful to exist here.
I see.
So that's why I said it's terrifying and you should leave immediately.
It's a really good analogy in terms of Dungeons and Dragons, where you've made me feel like I'm able to kind of visualize what a god coming to the material plane would be like. And then you made me sad about DC again. So let's just move on.
I'm sorry. Okay. So, I'm not too clear on a lot of the mechanics for some of these older editions, like first and second, but I did go through some of the stats because I actually had Moradin statted out, or at least his avatar. And second edition has Moradin's avatar statted out as a level 37 fighter, level 33 cleric, level 25 earth elementalist, level 25 fire elementalist, and level 18 bard.
Just like stacked on top of each other?
Now, I'm not sure how first/second edition levels work, but that sounds like a 138 level character to me.
No, that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and that makes sense. He's a greater deity. Like, he's a level 138 character.
This is like the shade he's projecting or whatever.
Right. Exactly.
Oh my God.
Exactly. That's just his shade.
Oh man.
Yeah. Like you can stat a minor deity. And it's nowhere near that. And that's just the avatar. So third edition now I do know that third edition's levels do work like they do stack like that. So third edition has his avatar level as a level 20 fighter, level 14 expert, which I think is just like more into fighter. I don't actually know. Level 15 cleric, making him like a level 49 character, which is still fucking massive for just an avatar.
Yeah. Like, just the fact that you're saying levels above 20 is just kind of like...
Right, exactly. Okay. So, yeah. So he wields a giant divine hammer known as Soul Hammer, which counts as a +5 magical weapon. He has plate armor that counts as +5 magical armor and a shield that's a +5 magical shield.
Wow, that's really good.
Indeed. All of his own forging, by the way. He's immune to the damage of all weapons that were forged, so all weapons. I mean, I suppose a club. A club wasn't forged.
Yeah.
He's not immune to a club.
Like, I shoved a dragon tooth into your calf.
Yeah,
like
so any wooden weapons are game.
Okay.
He's got spells for days, and like when I say spell, he has all of the spells.
Yeah,
he just has them all. He's a greater god. There's nothing he can't cast. And furthermore, he just has abilities that aren't even tied to spells. Like he can alter his form at will, his size. He can alter reality around himself at will to a certain degree. Because there's in older editions.
This is just his avatar.
This is just his avatar.
Okay.
I'm not sure if 5th edition has the alter reality spell, but older editions did, and he can just do that at will.
Oh.
Yeah. So, yeah. This is why greater gods aren't allowed near the prime. Like I was saying before, the world to them is more fragile than glass. They can't help but leave things broken and affected for centuries, even with the gentlest of actions.
Now, did he make his pantheon? Did he have a hand in creating the other dwarven gods?
I couldn't find anything on that. I mean, I didn't go as far as to like start like Baranor True Silver. I didn't like pull up her wiki and all the sources and read through it all. I didn't have time for that. But in none of the stuff I read on Morden did it talk about him crafting the Dwarven Pantheon. Yeah. That being said, I think he probably did.
That's a pretty big milestone. I mean, and then one day he barfed and a bunch of gods came out. Like,
I mean, we do got lore that Corellon made the Seldarian, which is his Pantheon. Yeah. I think it stands to reason that the Morden Sama was probably created by Moradin.
Okay,
which is probably why it carries his name. So,
yeah, makes sense.
So I think Morden is a greater deity to feature in. He'd be great in an Underdark campaign. Like maybe the Drow and Duergar are making like big military moves against Dwarven nations, but in general, he's just a good fit for most campaigns. You know, as a general rule, he's a good dude. He hates evil. He loves making stuff and stuff that's made well.
Okay,
I think that can fit into pretty much any campaign. Like I think Moradin is an easy god for one of your players to worship, and it just works. Because they're usually fighting evil, and Moradin's about that.
Yeah, and that's a good, like, strong source of power to channel.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, he's one of the greater gods, for sure. Any questions about Moradin?
Could Morden make a hammer so big that even he couldn't swing it?
Yes.
Okay.
Because he's not, like, he may be a greater deity, but he's not, like, truly omnipotent, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So, and since he's such a dope blacksmith, I think he could. I think he could forge a hammer so great that he couldn't lift it.
He's better at blacksmithing than altering reality or whatever.
Exactly.
Okay, so he'll make it, and then he'll go to pick it up and be like, oh shit, I fucked up.
Yeah, only Lord Ao, the true All-Father, the All-Father could lift this hammer.
I'm the All-Father. That's my everything dad.
Yeah.
Like, I need him. I need you right now, all
Everything Dad. I love it. Yeah, we're going to do a Lord AO episode. We're going to call him the Everything Dad. Any questions about Morden before we move on?
No.
All right. Well, with that, let's get ready for a long rest. And I wanted to take a moment to kind of shout out our sister channel, TDC Plays, where me, Brian, my sister Kiki, and some of the others from the Dungeoncast are getting together and playing some video games. And if you like video games and you like us here at the Dungeoncast, go check it out. It's fun stuff. We're playing Smash every Sunday. We're calling it Smash Sundays. We got some Zelda going on there, some Pokemon. We just finished a game called Outlast. We got Undertale on the way. But yeah, there's a link.
Side scrollers coming because that's what I do.
Oh yeah. I mean, me too, because I got Shovel Knight on the way as well.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, if you like any of that stuff, go check it out. The description or the link is in the description. That's what I meant to say. Anything you wanted to mention in the long rest?
Nah.
All right, with that, I think we can call it a game, and we will talk to you guys later.
Bye.